Hi, my name's Dave Zoney. I'm doing a video from Cornwall, United Kingdom. It's Friday, must be about 10 o'clock at night. So I'll do this video late and then put it up before I go to work in the morning. Uh, Headlines this morning. No jab, no job. Well, that's what Macron was saying, was it 10 days ago? And there was a big protest in France. But protests, the government of France just tolerates protests. Now and then it'll do a deal. It'll do a deal with the farmers. It'll do a deal with the fishermen. But it ain't doing a deal on this because Macron is there for a reason. Macron, when you check his history, he trained at that. The French have a college where they go that trains them in the civil service. And this college, this university, they all go there. What they do is they all integrate, and it's like a club, and they all get to know each other. Then they all move out into government after like 4 years of service, 4 years of doing this college. I forgot what the college is called, the university, and it's because the civil service is a trade. You don't just go in there lightly. You go in there for reasons of the future. You go because the French civil service has this vision of the future that's Europe orientated, EU orientated, and it's about having a grand France, and France being at the centre of this grand European project. And basically, it's a Masonic organisation, and Macron went there. Now, you've got to remember that when he was a kid at school, he had an affair with his teacher's wife or his teacher. She was his teacher. I think she was his music teacher, wasn't she? And he's a young kid and he's having an affair with the teacher, or she's having an affair with him. And then he went to this university and then she married him. She left her husband. Whether she got the kids, I don't know. He's supposed to get on pretty well with the kids or something. The kids are almost his age. But he's had this fucking strange life, Macron. And then he goes to this university. And then he goes into the civil service. And then he leaves the civil service. And because of he had to pay, because he's not done a certain amount of time in the civil service, he had to pay back money. Well, the Rothschilds paid the money back from, if I remember correctly. And he went to work for the Rothschilds Bank. And he was there for a number of years. And then he went back into politics. And then he stood for president. And he was untainted by past French politics because he was totally new. So he had none of the stigma of somebody else that was running for president or somebody that had been involved in politics and worked their way through the rat race. He was this fucking clean Teflon fucking candidate. And he robbed it, and he had money behind him, he had the media behind him, he had celebrities, and the fact that his wife, he's seduced him as a kid in school, well, that's just a sign of his sophistication. And then he gets to be president, and the thing is, he came at the exact time that this revolutionary change was coming in society. And when he looked across the Atlantic at Trump, because he came about the same time as Trump, and Trump was a distraction from the grand plan. The politics of Trump was a grand distraction for the prodigy of the Rothschilds. And Macron has been very, very anti-Trump. But so am I. I just see Trump as another side of the evil coin. He's a new But that'll be shown in years to come. So Macron is part of the old guard and Trump is part of the new wave of evil. It's like a new wave of evil that's competing with the evil that's been here for how long it's been here in charge. Anyway, Macron, attention diverted, but he's made clear his disdain for Trump, but he's still dedicating himself to the plan for France. His distractions were just minor. And we're now at the point where Macron the other week dictated, no jab, no job. And you're not going in public buildings unless you've had proof that you've had the double jab. Well, now in America, they've done the same. Biden's administration is saying you can't go in public buildings, government buildings. But they're also now testing the waters for you don't have a jab, you don't have a job. We've also got the governor of New York, Cuomo, the guy who shoved all the people from hospital, people that are fighting for their lives in hospital with COVID or they're seriously ill, and then as the symptoms go down a bit, but they're still infected, Governor of New York, Cuomo, signed a bill that stated that care homes, old folks' homes, had to take these people from the hospital because of the pressure on the beds. They needed the empty beds. They needed the beds emptying so that other people could come in. So what they did was they speeded up the release process to free the beds for the seriously ill. And Cuomo, Governor Cuomo, signed a bill that specifically stated that care homes had to take these sick people with COVID. So these sick people were put into the homes, the care homes, in New York State, New York City, even though Cuomo at the time was declaring that Trump was denying them protective equipment and there wasn't enough protective equipment. Well, the old folks' homes, the care homes, never had enough equipment. And now they needed more specialist equipment because of these sick people. But they also needed specialist carers and nurses instead of the minimum wage care staff. Do you remember what happened in Spain? In Spain, the staff in a care home vanished. And they left all the dead and dying old people in the home. And when the police went in, beds, loads of dead people, old people. Where's the staff? Oh, they've gone. They vanished. Well, Cuomo put so much pressure on these care homes, but you see, the poor can be very dedicated to their jobs if it involves caring for people. And that's what these companies who run them prey on, the fact that we have the human element. So now we're in the situation where Cuomo has got away with that. And the other thing is, he put these people in the old folks' homes, and yet Trump had sent a hospital ship to New York Harbor. And the hospital ship was sat in New York Harbor, staffed. It had staff on it. It had beds. It had all the equipment. But Cuomo put the old people in the old folks' home because he wasn't going to do anything that made Trump look positive. So he was prepared to kill all these people, kill all the old people in the old. Or should I say he was prepared to bring about the deaths of the old people in the old folks' homes and the care homes, rather than put the people in a clean environment, a hospital ship in the harbour with all the best equipment. So Cuomo has all that on him, and yet here he is now saying that no jab, no job. And he's going to push for it. But it is what it is. But now our government's in on it. Our government, Dominic Raab, has said, we look favourably on this. Because Foreign Secretary Dominic Raab appeared to back the idea of workers having vaccinations. He described the no jab, no job approach being pioneered by tech firms in the United States as a smart policy. Because Google, Facebook and all that, they've told their employees, if you don't get the jab, you're not working for us. And the good jobs working for Google and Facebook, technically, you get all the benefits. And in this time of high unemployment and the future doesn't look bright, you have a job that has your dental care for your family, health care for your family. You don't want to lose it in America. Not so much here. It don't really matter here. Because technically, we've got the NHS, the glorious NHS, to look after us. But in America, a good job provides you with health care, not just for you, but for your family. So Google and Facebook, Twitter, they've all got these people over a barrel. And it is what it is. It's their decision. And I've got no sympathy for them. Because these people who work for Google and Facebook and all that, they're no different to the police. They quite happily carried on working with collecting their paycheck every week, every month, every fortnight, whatever, while Facebook, Google, Twitter work together to bring Biden to power and take the presidency from Donald Trump. All these high-tech companies all work together to bring Biden to the presidency. Telling lies, doing what they did, taking people off YouTube, taking people off Facebook, burying people's voices, people's opinions. So now the Google workers and all that media company, all these people, they're all being told they've got a double jab. And there's no way 100% of these people who work for Google and Facebook and Twitter and that, there's no way 100% of them support it. Some of them will have quietly had their doubts. And now they're going to have to make their big decision. But I've got no sympathy for them. Because they quite happily took the money as democracy was trashed. But what's happening here is this is a con job. Because our government isn't saying this. What Dominic Raab said is, yeah, that's a good idea by the tech firms in America. And here's the thing as well. You've not got to be conned into believing it's the Conservatives. It's Parliament. Parliament wants this. There'll be a few that don't. There'll be a few that are starting to get... There'll be a few MPs that are starting to get brave. But they're not brave. They're starting to try and get us back to normal. Whatever normal is. Under a false flag of, yeah, we're okay now. They're not going to point out all the stuff that's happened that was wrong. We'll just say that. They're not going to go that far. It's like my MP. When I sent him all the details of the paedophile stuff. When I sent him all the details of Hunter Biden with young girls. When I sent him the link to videos. Silence. Well, these MPs in Parliament have been silent about what's been going on for the last 18 months. But a few of them are now getting fed up. Or should I say, they don't fancy the chances in the next election, so they're speaking up. But this isn't the government that's saying that. All parliamentarians are saying, because Labour will be hanging back with their opinions, but they'll be all for it. But eventually, I reckon in the next week or so, there's going to be a discussion in Parliament about no jab, no job. But what the Parliament, through the government, is trying to do now, they're trying to put it on corporations, government, employers to say this to the workers. Because they know they can't make it, in reality, they can't make that law in Parliament. But they can create a situation where the corporations, like the corporations in America, the big tech companies, but they can make it where like stores, big factories, car manufacturers, they can say to their workers, listen, you've got to get the double jab. And I'll tell you how this is going to come about. About 2 weeks ago, 3 weeks ago, I was TV, Sunday morning TV. I was watching these two scientists on TV. One of them's been very prominent. She's like some professor at Glasgow University, and the other one was at Liverpool University. One was a woman, one was a guy, and they were talking about, yeah, we're going to need the jabs. Well, we all have to have the jab. We all should do this. We all should do that. And they were being questioned about Boris's Freedom Day and all that. It was after Freedom Day. It was like the week, couple of days after, or the weekend after, first weekend. And they were talking about the football and that. Well, we've had football and this and that, and that's freedom. And these professors are like, no. People should only be going to these events if they've had the double jab. And then the guy, he said what I knew was coming. He said this is a health and safety issue for the employers. And that's what's going to happen with the corporations. They're going to get this, or they're going to put it to their workers that you have to do this because it is a health and safety situation. Like wearing a yellow jacket on a building site. It's like when you wear a jacket in the middle of a field that is classed as a building site and you've not even dug a hole. You just stood there in the middle of a field with your drawings and you've got a fucking helmet on and a yellow jacket and your safety boots because health and safety states that you have to wear those. Well, health and safety is going to make this, or make it so that no jab, no job. That's what's going to slowly evolve. No jab, no job, health and safety. And it'll be, yeah, you've got the right to endanger yourself, but you haven't got the right to endanger other people. And that's where they're going to get workers. But the government aren't going to pass a law on it. They're going to put the responsibility onto corporations, which is what I told you a couple of weeks ago. When Boris gave his big freedom speech, he said, you're going to all have to take personal responsibility. And I told you that. He said that. And that's like to blame us for the future, football fans, Wimbledon and all that. Concerts, young kids going into discos, into the clubs, going to the concerts. You have to take personal responsibility to make sure you have your double jab so that you're not spreading it in these events. But I told you, they're going to put it on the corporations. And what happens? A couple of days later, that Iraqi guy, the minister, the Iraqi guy, Nazir, whatever his name is, the thug with the glasses, he went on Andrew Marr Sunday morning, the first Sunday after Boris said that. A couple of days later, Matt Hancock resigns. Then you got the other guy comes in. Then the first Sunday, that Nazir, whatever his name is, he goes on TV and he said corporate responsibility. People have to take personal responsibility, but the corporations are going to have to take corporate responsibility to bring about a situation where their workers get the jab and their workers continue to wear masks. And I said to you, that's what's happening. Boris, the Parliament, they don't want the responsibility. They don't want to face their electorate and say it was us. The shithouses. They're trying to put it on the corporations to take the responsibility, and then if the unions aren't going to back you either. You get all these people who've been in the unions 20, 30, 40, 50 years. They've paid their subs. They've voted Labour all their lives. All right, they might have switched to Tories, but they've been faithful to the union. The unions aren't going to back anybody up on this. The unions aren't going to go to court for a test case, which is what they do sometimes in the past over issues. Equal pay for women. Dagenham. That was famous, where the union went to court with a couple of cases, test cases. Then they won, and then that benefited everybody. The union aren't going to do any test cases saying it's the right of people not to have the vaccine. And then when you get people who are sacked, let go, well, that creates a new situation. And the unions still won't back anybody. Now, I said this was coming 6-8 months ago, maybe even longer. I said this was coming. They're not giving up. It's like Macron. People who are behind him. Rothschilds, which is what Sean Ross is about. When Sean Ross is talking about Switzerland, Knights Templar and all that. And the evil in Switzerland, these people are there tucked away in the mountains in the vast chateaus who own the banks and who spread their tentacles across this planet. Well, one of those people in Switzerland that Sean Ross talks about, or that family, they are the sponsors, the mentors of Macron. They're also the sponsors of Boris and that. Who's one of Boris's best mates? Is it Goldsmith? Do you mind a Goldsmith's brother and all that? But you've got this situation now where I said it was coming 6-7 months ago. We're now here. Do you know what? Something's gone right out of my head what I was going to say. So you've got the health and safety issue, where they're going to make it an health and safety issue. It's fucking gone. We'll see if it comes back. But another thing in the paper today, because they're working on us. You know when you have a piece of steak and you tenderise it? That's what's happening to society now. We're being tenderised. And they've even got it now. Pregnant women. You need pregnant women need to get vaccinated. Double jab for the safety of their baby. And I heard a figure today because they're doing it on the media, TV news and that. They are working on pregnant women. So you have a mother whose daughter's pregnant. She'll be like that. Get vaccinated, get vaccinated. You're going to die. It's an health and safety issue for the baby, for you. And you're going to get the pressure of families on pregnant women. They're going after the babies, the children. They're even claiming the double jab, herd immunity in sight. Well, how can herd immunity be in sight if people who've been vaccinated get it again and get ill? That's what fucking Andrew Marr said a few weeks ago on TV. He had the double jab and then he got ill. He got COVID after he'd had the double jab. So how can they claim herd immunity if you can get infected and be ill? You can't have immunity. You can't have herd immunity if people who've been vaccinated. So you're getting all this like sleight of hand. And it says here, herd immunity in sight as jabs stopped 22 million infections. And what they're claiming is that 22 million people have not been ill because they've been vaccinated. They don't know that. They can't say that. But they've said it. So it is what it is. And then they say they've saved 60,000 people dying. They've said that there'd have been 60,000 more deaths than there would have been. But 2020, when you look at the statistics for how many people died, it's the same as 2019. There's no big difference. There's no big difference in the deaths of 2020 than there is from 2019. And yet this says they've saved 60,000 people. Well, we don't know that. You can say anything. If I'd have played for United, they'd have won the league more. They'd have won it more than they won it. They'd have won more games, scored more goals if I'd have played for United. I can't prove it, but you better fucking believe it. This pandemic, can you remember that far back to how track and trace started? You know, just think for a minute, who started it? Who was the initiator of track and trace? It was Bill Clinton, the Clinton administration. They started training people how to track and trace, and then and here's the thing. I've not seen this evidence, but it will be there. You can go on the Clinton website. I've done it. Clinton website, track and trace. And they're praising track and trace and that. Well, they will have received money from government. Fucking Clinton administration will have received vast amounts of money to do this so-called training, the track and trace. And the training, nobody's gone to college. It'll all be done online. And then you can then go and apply for a job somewhere with track and trace. And then you can do it from your home, because this is the future, working from home. People in Texas can track people in Wyoming. Housewife, she's put the kids to school, then she does like 5-6 hours doing track and trace for the Wyoming government, the Wyoming state legislature, all that. This is the future, people working from home. And we're now moving into this economy that is based around all these big contracts for all these companies that are keeping track of us, that are giving us jabs, that are being like, how much money is being made in advertising. I saw an advertisement in the paper the other week, and it was like this couple, 2 women. One of them was a little bit overweight, and the other one was like whatever. And they're in like a masonette, and the first floor of a masonette, and they're both fucking leaning out the window to talk. And the advert is saying, remember to open your windows to let the COVID out. And they're both hanging out the fucking window to have a conversation. That was an NHS advert. How much money is being made there? Well, that's now the economy. You see, what's it called? That's something else that's gone out of me. But when you have the economy as a whole, fucking vast parts of it over the years have disappeared as jobs go abroad or industries die. But now they're creating, they're like, you get a bit of plasticine, you stick it to the fucking summit and you hold it together. You get a vase that's broken, these little bits of it, you're taking it off. Well, it's like you're putting it back together with fucking bits of plasticine. And you're saying, oh, there's your vase, you can use it again. And they're making the economy, the GDP, the gross domestic product. See, the gross domestic product was based on what a country made. Widgets, cars, ships, tanks, washers for screws, hats. We used to have, my mum used to be a machinist. Well, all that work was part of the gross domestic product of a country. That's how a country's wealth is measured. Well, now all these jobs, these advertising jobs, these vaccination jobs, everything related to this pandemic industry is now part of the GDP. And it ain't going anywhere. It's not going anywhere. And it's like this says here. And it emerged last night that the government has signed a 12-month contract with a company to provide COVID passport technology. So it's not temporary. That's like a 12-month contract to give people passports to say that they've had the double jab so they can have a job or go in a building. But we've not got to the stage where France is at yet, or America, many of the states in America. But we're at the stage where pregnant women are being told they have, or they should have the COVID. It says here 1 in 5 who test positive refuse to quarantine. Well, if the law's the law, they should all be fucking hit with fines and arrested. Put in a hotel, isolated, £150 a night. If the law is the law, and they've got these people's names, then they should all be arrested. Now, France would do it. Macron would do it. Macron would fucking put a big public show on of arresting people and fucking kicking the doors in. Look at that Daily Mail. Some guy who works for the Daily Mail, he's moaning it cost 600 quid. Man forks out about £600 on each test. Him, his wife and his 2 kids. Well, it's his own fucking fault. Anybody who goes on holiday is an idiot. Tired of bookings after cruise comeback. People are booking for cruises because they're bargains. Curb rip-off test to let UK source, says travel chief. This country's fucked. Why won't people get it that we're fucked? All right, there might be some people who've worked all the way through, civil servants who work from home, teachers who've all been paid. But they don't represent the country. They are not representative of the whole country. They might feel that they're entitled to go on jobs. They might feel they can afford that 600 quid because they've not been going out for meals for 12 months. So they've saved all that money. They would have had on meals and weekend breaks. So they can afford the extra 600 quid each, £2,000 for a family. Yeah, but they don't represent this country. There's a lot more people out there who are not in that situation, but they don't get it, do they? Do you know, I wonder what it is that I forgot. But we are where we are, and I said this was coming. Said it was coming 6 months ago. No jab, no job.